it's Ben and I'm back. Should designers and creators be afraid of AI? So these are a pair of moose antlers. It's like the Ryobi of vodka. They fall off the moose naturally. You know, I think the worst expression I've ever heard is the no new friends. I'm always open to new friends. I guess I'm interested in a little more of the sci-fi angle of homesteading. I think designers and creators should think of AI like it's plastic. Hey, it's been a minute. Why don't you come on in? Let me show you Make a Ranch 2.0. So this is the new digs. I've been living here for a while, but it's not quite finished. You see, the last 2 years I've been kind of busy with the hotel stuff, but now that that's done, I'm living here full time and I'm getting to detail out and figure out all the final little design things and projects that, well, that'll turn this into my home. Have you ever heard the expression, the cobbler's kids have no shoes? That's kind of how I feel right now. Like all of my energy has been focused at this one big hotel project, and I've just neglected finishing all the detailed construction for my own house. So that's been starting to change, and so far so good. Now, I'm not really one of those people that plans everything out perfectly beforehand. Like I still have a lot of stuff in boxes and storage from my old place. So I'm trying to figure out ways to incrementally add things to the home that aren't too big or too complicated, so I can kind of add a little piece, live in the house for a while. Oh, that's a good place for this thing. And kind of adjust and have it be really dialed into how I actually live, not just something that would look good in the rendering. So this French cleat system you'll see all around the main living space. And it's just these two pieces of plywood cut at 45s. And this allows me to make a railing that goes all the way around this main living space. And then I can create all these different systems as I need them that fit onto there for different storage needs. This is right by my front door. So I have coat hooks. Obviously you need your axe there in case you got to cut firewood or stop a home invasion. Got my first aid kit if there's an emergency, and this just magnets on, so super handy. Normally in the house it's just me, and so I don't want a lot of chairs cluttering up this main open concept living space. But when I do have guests over, I just grab one off of here. Now, will they always be folding chairs? No, of course not. Eventually I'm going to make some really awesome chairs, but good enough for now. And I kind of like these kind of standard basic utilitarian things, but I'll do a nicer version and probably just keep 2 of these. And again, you know, from everything I've seen in WWE, you know, good for home invasions as well. So for the axe, I just made, you know, super simple, the most basic woodworking you can imagine. Didn't even bother hiding the screws. They can show, they look nice. This hangs right on. But what's even easier is just using these really nice off-the-shelf Amazon coat hooks. They're all just anodized aluminum, and those can just screw right on. And I like that because not all coat hooks are the same, right? Like these ones I think look a little bit cleaner. These are much bigger. Those ones grab a lot better. So I like this system because you don't have to commit to one type of hardware. You can keep mixing it all up. So I do like the occasional cocktail when I have friends over, and so this is our little bar setup. Be a couple shelves where you can add just the good stuff, no room for the junk. Little mini fridge, which is kind of, I really like this thing. I'll put a link to it below. But it has these nice drawers, it looks pretty clean. I might do a little base for it, but for now, this is a nice and tidy little setup. Now, it's not uncommon out here in Joshua Tree for people to use like old tools and rusty farm equipment as decor. But why not do it with actual practical stuff like these temple saws? So, project of the day. So I glued leather on these magnets, and these magnets are actually like little donuts. So if you cut out the leather in the middle, you get that. And now we can just screw this right on to here. And no, I didn't paint the drill. You know, I just got the special 30th anniversary special edition. So it's always fun drilling around a donut magnet is that it wants to pull the screw. Boom. And this allows us to, as you can see, when I'm working in my own house, I don't really measure. I just kind of eyeball it and approximate it because I'm the client and I like to keep it loose and flowy. I'm using walnut veneer Europly from Columbia Forest Products. It's really nice and it's super expensive. Look at all those laminations. Now, you may think this is a very extravagant part of my house, but what I like about this plywood is that because it's so dense and so strong, you don't have to use as much. If I was using like a basic furniture grade plywood from Home Depot, I would not get away with these thin straps holding up a TV or my record player. And the other cool thing about this French cleat detail is that you're covering a lot of wall surface with not a lot of plywood. I used just over 1 sheet to do all these wall hung shelves. So yes, this is more than twice the price, but if I was to build out full box cabinet, I would have used twice the amount of plywood to do typical hung cabinets, particularly ones with, open and closing doors. And forget drawers, drawers suck. Transparent materials are like aesthetic candy, and I think this is why epoxy is so popular, because you can make big volumes of things that still have a transparent or translucent quality. Glass typically comes in thinner sheets, but these are glass bricks. And what I'm hoping to do with these is make stuff that has that thick, heavy capturing of light that epoxy does, but without the plastic. The question becomes how to get the bricks to stick together without making it too permanent and too heavy, because these are about as heavy as real bricks. So this is where I actually am really excited about using my new X-Tool laser cutter, because I can cut out 1/8-inch thick steel at home in my garage. I guess I kind of thought of it about the way like jewelers make metal settings for gemstones, but these would be real big, heavy gemstones. But I can make these structures that the bricks slide into. The key is how to keep this thing so it's not so heavy that I can't pick it up, and then also how to keep it so the bricks don't fall out. So in the case of these, using gravity, but here I'm making these little interlocking pieces that fit in and around, and I made little pins to hold them all together. Now this steel I powder coated, and that's why it has such a nice consistent finish. But I don't know, so far I'm pretty impressed with the laser cutter. I think 1/8-inch steel is like a nice material to work with. It's like pretty strong, and when I do all my drawings in Illustrator, I can just put an 1/8-inch grid and then make all the notches fit perfectly. So this is the part I was a little bit worried about. There's 8 notches that have to fit into 8 other notches. And just because you cut everything or design everything on the computer to be perfect, doesn't mean it all goes together in the field. But with a little bit of coaxing, and I thought the powder coating might be a little too thick, but it all slots together pretty easy. And now I can add the final layer. And these little tabs right here, these keep this layer from sliding out. So there's a little looseness to the bricks. I mean, it's fine for me. I'm just doing this as a side table. It's not like people are gonna be standing or sitting on it. But if I did want to tighten it up, I did think that I could make little shims out of acrylic or even like silicone. Little transparent bumpers that wrap around, or even like little silicone rubber bands that go around some of the steel pieces. That could kind of give it just a little more cushion to keep any rattling from happening. And this is just really fun. It's like a ground up chandelier. It like picks up a lot of the atmospheric lights. It's like smooth to the touch. And this is gonna be my side table to the side of my sofa. I'll just slide it. So I don't know if this will be the final location for it because it's kind of tucked in a corner. I mean, it's practical as a side table, but I think I might end up using this as the coffee table. So it's out a little bit more front and center and captures a little bit more light. And like a chandelier, should be probably more centered in a furniture arrangement. But this is my second project with the laser cutter. And I think this is the one I'm most excited about from a design potential. So this is another kind of found object that I want to work with. And similar to the glass brick, it looks really cool, but well, at least I was immediately confronted with how do I connect this and turn this into something useful? So these are a pair of moose antlers. These were given to me by the great Izzy Swan, and I've had them for a while. I mean, there's so many obvious things I could do with them, but then I've already seen those done with antlers, right? And even like, Rick Owens has done moose antler kind of modern brutalist furniture, which, I mean, when I saw that, I was like, an idea I would have come up with, but he got there way first. I'm trying to figure out what to do with these. Ideas are welcome. Now, here's the conundrum that I'm thinking about. Immediately, when people get a big artifact like this, they want to use it intact, right? And that's what it pushes it into decor. But the unusual shape kind of defies an easy, simple application. So the part I'm thinking about sounds kind of sacrilegious, and that's actually cutting them and using them in fragments. So if I come up with an idea to use them, to make some sort of chair or stool or side table, great. I mean, I even thought about using them as like a type of like pull-up bars, but I have so many pull-up bars already. But I think probably the most rebellious and counterintuitive thing would actually be to bite the bullet and not be afraid to cut them and machine them and almost use them more as a piece of like raw edge or live edge wood. But no epoxy pores in between, promise. And now before you come for me in the comments, these weren't coming off of a dead moose. They fall off the moose naturally. So no moose was harmed. And again, if you got ideas or suggestions about what I could do with them, could be something here. They're pretty heavy. They're probably about like 20 pounds each. And yeah, a little darker on the backside, a little whiter on this side, but let me know. Oh, and one more thing. I actually combined the laser cutter with the French cleat detail, and I made this little powder-coated metal hook. It goes right there. And this is for my tripod because, I mean, life of an influencer. Sunday afternoons are for cocktails, and today we're doing a martini. Now, I'm not a professional. If you want a professional, there's this Instagram account I really like called Not Just a Bartender. This guy is slick, really good, and just a thoughtful human being, so check him out. But for me, just kind of throw it together and Shane and I will be happy no matter what. So we're throwing in some vodka, big fan of Tito's. I just feel like it's like no nonsense. It's like the Ryobi of vodka. I know that'll trigger some thoughts in the comments. People have such strong thoughts about Ryobi. I just keep using them over and over again, making awesome stuff. And you can use that more expensive stuff out there, but I don't know. I feel like my cuts are straight-ish, and still get everything done. All right, keeping it simple. All right, Shane, there you go. And what's on your mind this week?
Well, Ben, so I've had 3 different things on my mind: homesteading, AI, and dream collaborator. What do you want first?
Oh, good questions.
Who would be your dream collaborator?
Oh, that's such like a creator question. I kind of think as collaborations as any kind of human relationships. They're best when they're organic and not too planned or too forced. And I've done a lot of collaborations, like me and Mike from Modern Builds, my guy. There's a lot of collaboration with him and Four Eyes Furniture over the years. But I think what's great about those is they were organic. We weren't trying to force them as just an exchange of audiences and stuff like that. It was fun, it fit our lifestyle at the moment. It sounds weird, I kind of think of it a little bit like dating, where you don't want to just be too forceful in trying to make something serendipitous just happen and be like, I want this, so I'm going to go find the other person that can give me that. I think that sets you up to come across as a little needy and possibly selfish. I think what's really good is to sort of show a sense of friendliness and openness, that like you're open to the idea, to show that you have a consistent and well-mannered temperament, that you're someone easy to get along with. And then more importantly, create sort of room and space to maintain relationships. So I think a lot of the collaborations that I've done, whether they be with like comedians like Andrew Schultz, or I'm planning some stuff with the artist Sebastian Iratsseries, they've come across or come about through friendship first. I think the worst expression I've ever heard is the no new friends. I'm always open to new friends. And I think you establish that first and that trust, and then the opportunities for a win-win situation come from there. Now, professional collaborations are a different matter, and I'm actually in the middle of kicking off a pretty big one with a museum in Los Angeles. And this is much more like getting hired as a designer and fabricator by a client. And the client is also pretty established in the creative fields, actually very established. there's still a collaborative part where you're trying to figure out if you're going to get along well and if you're going to be able to have a give and take creatively, with the understanding on my part that it's their project and I'm there to serve their project. So going to be not very pushy on my side, just trying to learn about what they're doing and figure out how my skills can be helpful and useful. With these kind of collaborations, because they're coming in as sort of a business opportunity, it's actually a lot easier. You can establish professional boundaries. You kind of let them know what your sort of rates and fees are. And of course, and most importantly, to keep the stress levels down, what is a feasible and realistic timeline for you to do your part of the work, and then add a little padding in there, because we all know stuff comes up, nothing goes smoothly. And this is what's so confusing about creator and creative collaborations, is that when they come from just the love of the game, and it's just two people with fun ideas that want to mesh them together, those ones actually can go wrong the worst, even though there's no business parameters, because they're kind of unstructured, but they still can eat up a lot of the other person's time. So I guess in all cases, boundaries and good communication are really important. But no, I'm open to collaborating in any kind of way that seems to make sense at the time. All right, homesteading, what do you got? Are we talking Little House on the Prairie? What are we doing here?
I was curious if you would ever be interested in like homestead style content.
I mean, I think there's people that do it incredibly well. My favorite in the kind of gardening, agriculture, and kind of light homesteading is Epic Gardening. I think that's incredible content, super informative, and has just built an incredible media company out of a YouTube channel. So if you want to learn about plants and growing things, that's where I would go, Epic Gardening. I feel like I'm not quite like static enough, and I'm always getting immersed in a big project. So growing things outside of my bonsais, but even that's a little bit hard for me, is tough. I guess I'm interested in a little more of the sci-fi angle of homesteading. I'm interested in the idea of terraforming. And when you hear terraforming, you often think of what they'll do on Mars to build an artificial atmosphere, and they'll like shape the earth and drop nukes to warm it up and do all that. But I think terraforming here on Earth at the DIY scale is really interesting. For example, I live on 5 acres and it's pretty flat land. And there's two kind of landscaped issues that I want to deal with. One is a little bit of noise coming from the road, not too far off. It's not bad, but every once in a while, you know, you're sitting outside, you just hear a car drive by. So one is using and shaping the land to mitigate sound traveling across, which happens easy in the desert because it's flat, air's thin. So sound mitigation is one terraforming concept that I'm interested in. The second is slowing down the wind. Joshua Tree is known for kind of extreme temperature, but I actually found it one of my favorite places to live, temperature-wise. The evenings are cool, even in the summer. It gets a little hot in the middle of the day. But the thing that's actually the most challenging is not the sun and the heat, it's the wind. I've been kind of using AI to kind of research how to structure a series of manipulations to a flat piece of ground to mitigate wind. Who knows if the AIs are telling me the right things, but they seem to be sourcing from engineering documents that kind of suggest a whole bunch of series of small linear hills. Homesteading, look, I'm not that far from a grocery store, not quite ready to commit to taking care of a whole bunch of animals, struggling with the bonsai plants, but terraforming to reduce wind and noise is intriguing and probably something I'll do in the near future. All right. AI, the ubiquitous topic. The question I've been getting is, should designers and creators be afraid of AI? And I don't know. Fear, probably not. But here's what I do think. I think it's too early to tell exactly what will happen, so I'm very suspicious of anyone making really bold and definitive predictions. It's not too early to see that things are about to change, and the question is to what degree and how fast. I also think it's not too late to get started in using these things so that you can mitigate and prepare for whatever is about to come. And again, I am very suspicious of not the people that say that change is happening. I believe that. I am suspicious of when they say this is when it will happen and this is exactly how it'll happen. Here's how I'm kind of thinking about AI. I think it's going to be most analogous to what plastic did to the design and material world. Plastic changed a lot of things. Plastic is in every single thing. Plastic in a lot of ways, especially how we look at it now, is terrible, right? It's like in our bloodstreams, it's in our bodies. It's hard to escape. We're addicted to it as a society of manufacturing. Like we have to use it in so many things. On the flip side, plastic saved a whole lot of lives, and it's a really efficient, very useful material that can do a ton of things that wood, steel, and glass can't do. So plastic, definitely some really bad outcomes. But there's also a ton of things that it's specifically so useful and beneficial for. That's how to think about AI. Now, if you look at when plastic first came about, I'm sure there was people that said, oh wow, we can build plastic furniture. No one will ever build wood furniture again. It's not true. If anything, plastic took over the low end of the market and it pushed more authentic-ish materials to the higher end. There will be some displacement, but there'll be a countercurrent, and it's rare that something gets completely obliterated and moved out totally. Never underestimate, as strong as something will come in and take over, there will be that sort of counterinsurgence and backlash to it. The more we have manufactured, mass-produced foods, the more popular things like farmers markets gets, the more popular concepts like farm to table get. The unfortunate part of that is the crappy stuff tends to be the thing to satiate the masses, and then these previously kind of like wholesome things become the fodder of the affluent and wealthy. As a designer, when I look at AI, I think of it a lot like plastic. I think it'll be everywhere and a little bit in everything, but it won't be totally autonomous and dominant by itself, right? So if I'm using any of my power tools, they're all held together by plastic, but there's specific components within them that are various materials, like aluminum for a housing that needs to cool but still be strong and shock resistant, or steel for tips and bits that needs to be like kind of harder and more durable, or even carbide or ceramics and stuff like that. Plastic sort of becomes the most manipulatable kind of like clay that becomes the glue to hold other stuff together. I think for designers particularly that are in the digital realm, AI will create an opportunity to diversify into physical mediums, right? Well, we know tools like the laser cutter that I showed you earlier are becoming more and more available and more affordable, CNCs and things like that. When those tools first came out, the kind of friction or challenge between going from graphic ideas that you're drawing on the computer to physical products was in the complexity of the software, right? You'd have to, when the first sort of 3D printing or CNC machines came out, getting the G code ready from your sort of 3D models was like a cumbersome and a little bit of a tricky process. This is where AI will probably have the most immediate effect, is it'll make writing new types of software cheaper. And it means that we'll probably eventually get smoother and smoother transitions between digital idea and physical product. If you're a graphic designer that used to design logos and business cards or just basic graphic design for small businesses, and you may be worried that now that those small business owners can just go onto a large language model and produce the stuff that's not quite as good as what you did, but good enough. They still can't produce a physical thing out of a large language model. So taking those sort of advancements and that friction reduction potential from AI and then using it to expand your output capabilities from digital products to also physical, I think that that's not necessarily something that will save us, or it's not a solution, but it's something probably at this stage that's worth considering. And we're still going to live in a world of physicality and agency. We hear the term agent being used with AI quite a bit because we made things that could give us intelligent answers. But now the real challenge is responsibility and agency. And when I was first asked about these AI questions, I would always say, well, we have artificial intelligence, but it's going to be a while before we have artificial responsibility. That's what the agent thing seems like it's trying to kind of get at. So I think that what it tells me that I need to keep investing in is how can I use this to streamline my project management, to improve my depth and speed of research, and then anticipate that it's going to make some of the previous digitally challenging things, such as 3D modeling or changing a 3D model into G code or rapidly manipulating it or doing some sort of parametric alterations to it. Those parts could get a lot easier. And if I'm ready and experimenting with digital fabrication, I should have a way to ride this change and have some options so I don't get caught flat-footed. I've already seen a ton of AI things that in a way are directly competing with what I do. I mean, I was on Instagram and dude, the amount of bad videos of like it is, of course, AI tackles the epoxy projects first. But have you seen these videos where people throw like logs on like a floor and then they just dump like 50,000 gallons of epoxy and it like LED lights, and it's just like you're walking on like logs captured in glass with LED lights? Or it's shocking to me the number of people that think these are real. So AI can directly make fake DIY and craft videos, and it can do it at the most clickbaity, insane scale. The amount of cost and time it would take to do an actual like full thick 6-inch epoxy floor with a bunch of embedded stuff, astronomical. And it can generate that real quick. So on one hand, I might think that that is dangerous, right? I've done sensational epoxy projects. The whole water balloon epoxy table thing was definitely something that AI could do. I'm not too worried about that part. And if anything, that'll push me away from doing those kind of ideas. And it might be more about walking in the woods, finding a cool tree, cutting it down with an axe. And as a content creator, it'll probably push me to be more hands in the dirt, real and authentic, because that will be the hardest thing to kind of replace. I think it's scary for me in the sense that I know I'll have to adapt and I'll have to keep paying attention, and I won't just be able to do the exact same things over and over again. But that was already the case. The way I got started in YouTube, I can't do things the same way now. There will always be some evolution and change to what you have to do. There will always be some disruption. There'll always be fear. I've never met a small business owner that wasn't afraid continuously of all the things that could happen. The right amount of fear, totally understandable, totally okay, but it's not hopeless. Let's not get too doomer-ish about it. And I really think we should think of it like plastic. Artificial, cheap, occasionally useful, well, no, often useful, but let's not over-rely on it, and let's not make stupid stuff with it. All right, well, we do have guests coming, so we gotta get ready for the show and tell portion of the evening. So when I have people over, we like to do a little show and tell, and tonight we're trying two different things. A healthy version of ramen, crazy, and my new favorite, breakfast. And so the sort of theme today is snackable things that save time and maybe aren't as bad for you as their predecessors. So my favorite thing to do is to scroll around Instagram and try things that are targeted at me in the algorithm. And hate to say it, the algorithm really knows me. So this is from a company called Holos. It's pretty good. I've been doing this for about a month now. And it's kind of like an overnight oats, but it's not as sweet as some of the other ones I've tried. And it's my new sort of go-to breakfast. I'm using regular whole milk. I've also used coconut water. You've also used almond milk or cashew milk or all the different milks that maybe you're not allowed to call milks anymore, who knows. But really simple, just like the night before, I just put it into the jars, shake it up, and then put it into the refrigerator. And when I wake up in the morning, I have it with my coffee and it's great. Now, 80% of my diet is just rice, meat, and vegetables, but every once in a while, particularly in cold weather, Jesse and I like to mess with a little ramen. And this ramen has great macros. And I haven't noticed any downside to kind of taste or texture. It's quite good. So we're gonna serve this up tonight to our guests. Breakfast. The macros speak for themselves. What I really like about this is they use the chia seeds to kind of give it like a little bit of a nice texture. And unlike a lot of the other kind of alternatives, this isn't too sweet. And so many of these companies, they use so much monk fruit that everything just tastes like monk fruit. And that's fine, but I don't really need that much sweetness added to stuff. Shane, want to try? I think that's the cocoa flavor.
Yeah, it's really balanced.
It still tastes like real food. It doesn't taste like they just used a bunch of fake sweetener. It's not cheap, but it's fast, it's good. It gets me out the door, especially when I got to get to the construction site. So I give it a 4 out of 5, right? That's like really solid.
It doesn't taste like something that would come out of a packet normally, you know?
Mm-hmm. So for this new series at Maker Ranch, it's basically gonna be me and Shane hanging out on Sunday afternoons. Occasionally we'll have guests, which is what we often do here anyways. We have little dinner parties on Sunday evenings quite often. And we wanted to create a show that's a little bit different than my typical DIY projects. Those will still be happening over at Homemade Modern. I think what I've never actually done with Homemade Modern is, really show how all these projects add to a life. And if I look at like the most common kind of criticisms or comments from the DIY project videos, like, well, why would you make that? And so one of the things we want to kind of do with this series is show how these things all sort of fit together into a lifestyle. And obviously this is the lifestyle for me, it doesn't have to be for everyone, but there's a sincerity to it. This is exactly how I live. I'm very lucky that I get to make choices about how I live. And I think that the making of things is to sort of fit the way I want to live. So it's very much simple lifestyle design. The other thing that we want to do is share a little bit more about how I'm thinking about things. And we invite your questions. And it's not just questions to get a whole bunch of comments and get the engagement. It's kind of an unusual time, and things do feel like they're changing across all aspects of society. I'm pretty optimistic about things. And when my friends come to talk to me, it's often to get a little pep talk about how, yeah, things are complicated and definitely a lot of things that are bad, but like, I'm pretty excited about the way the things are going. And we think that there's probably, hopefully, a little room for positive content that's still trying not to, Pollyanna and avoid things. So bring your questions on. Probably I'm best at answering things related to design, architecture, construction, making, fabrication. But you can throw some other ones in there and we'll take a look and see if we can answer them.